Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode from the MedAccess Podcast Hub. Before I introduce my guest for today, throughout my career over the past 15, 16 years, I've been approached either by people who have just graduated from school, people who have just started their career, people who are 6 years in, even senior colleagues in my workspace, eventually keep on asking, how can I upskill myself? What sort of certifications I should obtain? Which certification you think would serve me best to add value to the organization that I work in? So technically, whether you're a fresh graduate who feels that you still have that energy of studying or seeking more knowledge as you are searching for a job, or you are in the middle of starting your career and you just want to add on your current license or professional certifications that you already have, whether it's a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, and you're looking for an additional certification to make you more specialized. We want to really focus today on the importance of education and the importance of upskilling individuals and its impact on your work environment and how you impact your workspace positively and contribute to whichever specifically with regards to our podcast, since it's healthcare focused, something that truly impacts patients, something that impacts positively our patients. The more we upskill ourselves, the more definitely we can do things more efficiently, smartly, and we explore better ways to do certain tasks, or maybe makes us think, how are we maybe not exploring different techniques or requirements that are required with the day on, day off changes in the requirement in the work field. So with me today is a subject matter expert who's going to definitely add value to all these questions, is Nick. Nick is a global expert when it comes to supply chain, professional field, and education and professional upskilling. Welcome, Nick, and thank you for joining us in the MedAccess Hub podcast. It's a true pleasure. Nick, why don't you just introduce yourself to our audience, and while introducing yourself, also tell us your expertise around the supply chain education space throughout this journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Adel, for having me on this podcast. My name is Nick. I am the manager of strategic partnerships for the International Supply Chain Education Alliance. ISCEA is a certifying body for supply chain professionals in various areas of supply chain management. And our focus is to upskill supply chain professionals with their, or at least allow them to get more background, more education, help them further their careers, help them understand the different dynamics of the current supply chain dynamic as it pertains to technology, global kind of regulations, changing geopolitical relationships, and how we can actually, or how these professionals can, take all the information that's provided to them and make the best decisions for their organization, and come out on top when these challenges present themselves.
Great, Nick. Thank you very much, Nick. You've been in this field long enough. Over the past 10 years, how do you see that the demand for such certifications has evolved over the demand for these certifications has evolved over the past years?
Yeah. So I would say supply chain as a kind of a study or a discipline has really picked up over the last 10 years. We've seen a larger focus across the board in terms of every industry really focusing on driving those cost savings on the back end of their business, because if you can save money on the back end, that's money that you don't have to go out.
Everything's about sustainability nowadays, Nick.
Exactly. So you definitely want to be driving value in every part of your business, preventing any kind of poor decisions lead to basically greater attrition of your bottom line. So with greater focus on efficiency, making sure all your processes are as tight as they can be. You have good relationships with various suppliers in your network. All those things add up, and so with the kind of understanding that's happened in the modern kind of business climate, we've seen a lot of people want to understand the best ways they can approach strategies for supply chain management, which really has picked up, as it increased the demand for certifications, upskilling, education. And so we've seen a huge increase, especially since the pandemic as well, as I'm sure you're aware that
we will cover that piece, Nick. I mean, you've just said three words, Nick, that any senior C-suite level would love to hear: strategic, cost savings, futuristic, planning, demand. This is everyone's dream now, because everyone, whenever you go into a meeting, everyone's saying, how can I optimize cost? How can I run my operations at the same quality without impacting my cost? How can I upskill my individuals on top of their licenses to make sure that we're doing things right, which you said efficiency. Everyone's talking about efficiency. Now, since the majority, and hoping to have a wider audience, of course, since the majority of the MedAccess viewers are from the Middle East, have you observed this increase in demand as well from the Middle East region, whether in the Gulf or the Northern African region, obtaining or asking for those certifications as well?
Oh, 100%. The Middle East is one of the I would say, leaders in getting their populace upskilled. We've partnered with various governments within the Middle East and various academies to offer our certification programs. So it's definitely on the forefront of basically worldwide education at the current state. I would say the Middle East is one of our largest markets in terms of providing these certifications, and it's honestly, it's great to see that that region is taking education and upskilling seriously. And we've seen a ton of amazing progress from the individuals that have been taking our certification programs as they enter the workforce. And they've gone on to take on senior leadership positions, various in terms of healthcare, various hospital kind of facilities and healthcare companies. So.
Yeah, that's great to hear, Nick, and it really makes me feel confident that we are on the right track. And this episode is to reinforce the message that, guys, education is important. Staying on top of your knowledge is important. Staying on top of your license is important. Obtaining these certifications, the right one specifically, is really, really important. It's not just, and I really want to tackle that piece with you, Nick, in the future, in the next questions. It's not just about obtaining a certification just to add some credentials against your name, but it's the right educational tool that will serve your company and serve yourself better, even for your own growth. Now, if I want to take a step back and a holistic lens, why do you think upskilling now and obtaining the proper education when it comes to supply chain is now important more than ever?
Obtaining a supply chain certification now is really important, just because if you are gain an understanding of the current kind of supply chain dynamics and can understand what is happening in the current state, what might be happening in future state. All these things add up, and they will help you as you enter, in your current role. It'll make you be a better, more efficient kind of contributor to your organization, and in the future as well. You can, if you know what technologies might be disruptive in your specific industry, then you can actually use that to your advantage. Start planning ahead, making those connections with people that are, in the forefront of those technologies, understand 100%. Where you can implement them in your own company, and actually use them to give yourself a competitive advantage in the workplace, both personally, exactly. And for your organization.
I like the word competitive advantage. And really, guys, this is a takeaway message from Nick here. Competitive advantage is very important. It's what differentiates you from others is key here. Now, Nick, I'm going to ask you, and I really want you to be transparent, and this is going to address some pain points. You're an expert in this field. If I would ask you to highlight one or two main gaps that you feel are currently present that need to be addressed when it comes to supply chain, that people are either forgetting and needs attention and is achievable through certifications?
Absolutely. I would say AI and automation is one. Actually understanding how these technologies will, most people are not very aware of how to actually implement these technologies, and automating these processes. It saves time. Time is money. So if you can close that gap and actually understand how you can implement various forms of AI and automate certain processes, I think that's one area where people just could use a guiding hand in understanding those various kinds of forms of technology, and it really helps to give people leverage within their own. It gives them the ability to plan their own destiny. And I would say sustainability as well is an area that might have, in the last few years, it's become probably more on the back burner. It's not as much as on the forefront of people's minds. But I think, especially given the last few years and the focus on making sure that we're making the right choices for not only the planet, but sustainability is a very smart practice in business as well. If you have sustainable sources of supply for any of the raw materials that you're purchasing, the various making sure that your labor force is sustainably kind of looked after, making sure that they're happy, healthy, all those things add up to a successful business. So I would say
Perfect.
AI and sustainability.
So AI and sustainability. Honestly, Nick, spot on. I think if we don't catch up and stay on top of these trends, we'll stay behind. So do you think if we and what's your view on this? So when we obtain these certifications, will this help bridge those gaps and achieve better results for organizations? I mean, if you can give us one or two examples from something from your previous experience, how did obtaining these certifications bridge those gaps?
Awesome. So bridging that gap, I would say, most people that are in the professional supply chain community, they either have they've gone to university, they have that background already. With our certifications or certifications in general, you're able to stay current, and you're able to use those certifications to actually further your understanding on the basically global business dynamics. So bridging the gaps is super important. When we get people that decide to take our certification programs, we see a lot of focus on their current problems, what they might see as kind of the priority in their own business case, as it stands in the current environment. As people get these certifications, though, they're able to use that knowledge to actually take action against their ideas. And we've seen various companies that have come to us, or people that get certified. We actually offer a business incubator program at ISCEA. So this allows entrepreneurs that have taken ISCEA certifications to pitch business ideas to our network, and we advise them on the best course of action on how to actually secure capital, make their vision reality. And so in terms of, I'll give you an example in terms of technology. We've had a prominent drone company that their founders had certifications from ISCEA. They came to us with their idea, and we're basically able, with those certifications, at their to build their foundational
To
knowledge.
achieve their goals.
Exactly. And so that drone company was able to grow and is now delivering medical supplies across Africa and various other countries. So there's various examples of people that get these certifications and how they can actually use that knowledge to take action against the ideas that they have. So.
Perfect. So now, since we to piggyback on that healthcare field that you mentioned, and now we'll take a slight deep dive into healthcare. You mentioned the pandemic, and we all know the lessons learned specifically with supply chain when it comes to interruptions, delay of supply, increased demand. We learned a lot when it comes to supply chain during the pandemic. What are your insights on that? That's my first question. And then if you can just tell us, your organization specifically, what would you advise our viewers and our listeners on what to look into when they want to obtain certain certifications that are addressing specifically or tailored specifically for healthcare professionals?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have a couple certifications that we offer. One is the Certified Healthcare Supply Chain Analyst certification, and the other one is for more kind of tenured supply chain professionals, and that's our Certified Healthcare Certified Healthcare Supply Chain Manager certification. So these were developed by Dr. Eric Henneke from the Mayo Clinic. The Mayo Clinic is one of the most prominent leading healthcare
providers. Yes.
Yep. So we have the leader, the global leader in healthcare, providing services that came in during the pandemic. Partnered with ICEA, and we developed these certifications in tandem with him. Just because we saw so much breakdown in the healthcare system during that period, it was important for us to address that gap in knowledge.
It was a need, I guess, Nick, and it was required to be addressed.
Yes, exactly. So we saw the need, and we partnered with the necessary individuals that had the knowledge to help us prevent those issues from happening going forward. So that was a really large priority for ICEA. And so we've seen as time has gone on since the pandemic, and we've been offering these healthcare certifications, in the supply chain field, we're giving people basically the knowledge to be prepared in case anything else happens again. And even just given the current global kind of situation in terms of, you never know when trade might break down in a certain country, or those barriers are
understood
coming down. So
things have been crazy lately, I guess, the least to say.
Yeah.
So I think, Nick, you mentioned two specific certifications that you provide at your institution. Can you give us a high-level summary of who and what is the expectation, so that it at least encourages our viewers to log in and understand more? I mean, is one of them for entry level? Is it medium, mid-level seniority, or is it someone that is at a senior level? Can you just give us a high-level summary of who should look into those and who is the best candidate, if I may say?
Yeah, so I would say entry level to, I would say even somebody that's several years into their career. Our Certified Healthcare Supply Chain Analyst certification covers a lot of the bases for foundational knowledge as it pertains to healthcare certifications. And our healthcare, our Certified Healthcare Supply Chain Manager certification is for the more the people that might be 10 years into their career in healthcare.
Or seasoned, I guess.
Seasoned, exactly. And it gives them the opportunity to build on the knowledge that they already have, to maybe take the next step in their career to help basically help their teams understand the best way to strategize and basically manage risk and basically optimize costs within their supply chain. So and based on your level or the stage of your career, both of those certifications cover the
Are
basic.
tailored for those. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Uh, just a question that came on top of my mind, Nick. Not that I like it, but the time span for people's attention now has reduced drastically over the years. How long are these certifications in terms of like end to end? Are they like months, or it depends on each person and their capability to study and their how can they balance? And I speak here for working professionals. Do you believe those certifications cater for individuals, keeping in mind that they have a work-life balance here that to achieve, but at the same time can achieve those certifications? What's your thought on that?
yeah, the time span to take our certifications, there's usually around 20 to 40 classroom hours, depending on the certification. So, we're aware that the times people's attention span is greatly reduced, or at least people have a lot going on, so they want to allocate their time to the right, the right things. So we try to keep the material as concise as possible, but we want to make it meaningful. So that when you take these certifications, you feel like you really are coming out prepared. So anywhere from 20 to 40 hours of material is covered, and then an exam at the end. So these individuals can make sure, in order to obtain the certification, they need to get at least a 70% on the exam. So you can usually, if it's online on demand, which a lot of our certifications are offered, kind of self-guided, you can use that to basically study the material at your own pace, make sure that you have a clear understanding, and then take the exam at the end. For somebody that might, be a fast reader or can comprehend the material faster, that the material you can get through the program much quicker. But I would say on average, we see about 20 to 40 hours of work.
That's great. And again, we will provide the links and the website details for our viewers at the comments level, or even on LinkedIn and several MedAccess platforms. Now, let's talk the future, Nick. And you highlighted on two very important points earlier on our discussion. You mentioned AI and sustainability. Where do you see the future trends of supply chain going from your experience? And has your organization addressed it in terms of certifications, or are you doing something in the works now to cater for these upcoming trends when it comes to AI, digitalization, sustainability, you name it? I mean, the floor is yours, and where is the trend going, and how is your organization adapting to it, and what's your advice to people listening?
So we actually offer several certifications that focus on AI and supply chain technology. We have Amit Sinha. He is actually the senior director of AI at Microsoft, and we actually just brought on another senior director of SAP AI at Microsoft. They are on our international standards board, so these are the guys that are writing the courses, making sure that all the material is as up to date as possible and as thorough as possible for our learners. So we have an AI short course that is offered, that was written by Amit. That one is a great introduction to get some foundational AI knowledge. And then our certified supply chain technology professional certification does a deeper dive onto the different technologies that are out there. And so you can actually understand how to use these technologies for your own benefit and your company's benefit. So we try to cover all our bases with and stay relevant as possible with the different
future trends.
Yep.
And so you do believe this is the future trend, which is moving towards more digitalization, more AI, adoption of technology, and people need to stay on top of this. Now, also, again, back to our earlier discussion, and you mentioned efficiency, you mentioned sustainability, cost optimization, and a lot of things that are mentioned by our senior leadership, wherever you're working. Now, as an expert in this field, Nick, and you're talking to me a person who is an entrepreneur or even a company owner, and what would you tell me if I would want to upskill a group of professionals that work in my procurement and supply chain department? Let's say I want to train 10 or 12 of my individuals. What's in it for me as a CEO? Let me challenge you here. What's in it for me as a CEO?
Yeah, I would say having an educated workforce is one of the most invaluable things that you can have. It gives you a strategic advantage against your competitors that might not fully understand the concepts, the different ways that you can use your supply chain to make it more resilient. With it, resiliency and basically making sure that the future is kind of planned for with your workforce, knowing what is out there and making sure that they're making the right decisions. It gives you a peace of mind to make sure that these people under you are actually know what they're doing. It gives them the autonomy to make those decisions, and it gives you the kind of ability to entrust them with kind of going forward and making these strategic moves, knowing that they have the right education to kind of guide their decisions.
So let me now take off my hat as a CEO and echo you or piggyback you on one important aspect. I believe that the points you mentioned are important from a strategic level and will have measurable outcomes. So definitely, this is an investment that you will see an outcome for that have more strategic decisions, as you mentioned, impact on cost, sustainability, and smarter decisions, correct?
100%.
And on top of this, if I'm a person from a human capital perspective of who's approving this education request for a certain number of employees, I'll tell you personally, it will definitely increase my engagement to my organization because they care about me. They invested into my education. And these sort of things matter, even if they're not specifically tangible as a bonus or an increment or a merit to your salary. But these, if you invest in my education, it will definitely make me feel more engaged to the company. I'll definitely give more. Don't you agree with that?
I agree. It's something where if your investor or your employer invests into your own personal growth, it gives you the peace of mind that they actually care about you as an individual, and they care about making sure that you're on the right track, both now and in the future. We see teams come to ISCEA all the time. Like you were mentioning, the CEO point of view. We have directors and managers that want to make sure that their teams are also kind of up to date with everything that's going on, and so they sponsor getting certifications for their entire teams, and we see a lot of really great feedback. There's situations where a company will come to us and say, "Hey, we're having issues in our procurement division. We would like to sponsor our procurement staff to actually get these certifications." And so it's a really great way to invest in your talent. And it increases the loyalty of those individuals to the organization as well, if they know that
100%.
they're being taken care of.
I can't agree more, Nick. And before we wrap up, or as we wrap up, Nick, I know it's hard to summarize everything into one single advice, but let me ask you a classic question here. If you would give one advice from your expert background to a person who is either in earlier in their career or mid of their career, what's one specific advice for someone who's in the healthcare supply chain industry?
I would say invest in yourself, invest in your education, because education is really the most important kind of basis for yourself as an individual. It helps to get you where you want to be in life. Helps you to make the right decisions. So actually having that a solid foundation for your education is truly the most important part. And I would say there's never, there's no time like the present to actually pursue the aspiration and make sure that you're setting yourself up for success, both now and as you progress in your career, and go after the goals that you have for yourself. And it's definitely it's the most important kind of asset that you can have, in my opinion.
I think Nick, you summed it all. I have nothing to add. I mean, you said invest in yourself. You said asset. Look, you're investing into yourself. You're an asset to your organization, and assets need to be strong. Assets need to be aided with the right information, and information will not come on its own. You need to educate yourself. You need to upskill yourself for the benefit of yourself and your organization. I can't thank you enough, Nick. Any final thoughts from your end to our viewers before we wrap up?
I would say, I appreciate your time, Adel. To all the viewers, we're always here if you all want to further your career, further your education. And there's plenty of opportunities. ISCEA is not just a certifying body. We also have a global network of talented supply chain professionals. So becoming a part of our community enables you to connect with people, that you may never have thought you would have access to. We try to bring down any barriers and allow people to share knowledge, ideas, and come together as one to solve the problems that we all are facing today. So
I can't agree with you more, Nick. I think I can't, of course, simplify or discount supply chain, but honestly, from my point of view, there are two pillars of success in supply chain: communication and networking. And you've just highlighted the importance of networking, which your organization provides, or any supply chain organization provides. You want to succeed as a supply chain professional, you have to strengthen your network. Again, thank you, Nick, so much for joining us today on the MedAccess Hub podcast. You've been a great guest. You've added a lot of information. I personally learned a lot from you. Thank you very much, Nick, for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much, Adel. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.